South Africa take on India in a what we're hoping to be a mouth-watering test series in South Africa. Now, South Africa obviously have the upper hand with regards to local conditions, etc. At least that's what Dean Alga had to say. So we're going to be chatting about everything. Before this first test and before this series, we are going to talk about a combined 11. Now, the combined 11 has myself, Umpo, and Aditya. It's our team combined. Whoever else is on here will have, if they have any, will join. Whoever else joins, if they have anything to say against it, then they can go against it because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some guys to go against what we thought because we have exactly the same team. So myself, us three. If anybody else comes on the stream throughout the show, and they have the same team as us, then great. But if they don't, then even better, because that means that we have a show on our hands and a debate on our hands. We're going to talk about Dean Aldo's press conference and what he had to say before this particular test series. We're also going to talk about the stats between India and South Africa. I've got the stats over here. Obviously, in South Africa, I didn't take the stats from all the series, only in South Africa and what the record is. I looked at some of the top batters in the last year, so from the previous Boxing Day series and New Year series that was against Sri Lanka in 2020, and we've looked at the batters and the bowlers, the top batters and the bowlers from a South African point of view. We will obviously have an India point of view when it comes to Aditya. He will obviously give his side of the story when it comes to India, and as well maybe Aaron as well, who's a massive India fan as well. So we're going to get into this one. I think there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to talk about. So let's get straight into it. If you guys want anything to say in the comment section, let us know. I'm sorry that we come to you at this time. Unfortunately, South Africa, it's the best time for South African from a South African point of view, particularly in the week as well, because people are still coming from home. So we have to cater for our South Africans, of course, because they are the majority on this channel that watch this particular show. So I've looked at the stats and South Africans are still majority. So I'm sorry, guys, that's the way. If Aditya can do it, so can you. So Aditya is the measuring stick. As soon as I see his eyes close a little bit on some of the shows that I know, oh, wait, I'm going too late. So he's my measuring stick, guys. You have to keep up. So before we get going, before we get started, please, you know what you have to do. You've got to subscribe to this channel, of course, first and foremost. Click that notification bell for all future videos. But you also need to subscribe to the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine. All the issues are 100% free. So the link is in the description. And of course, you'll get all back issues as well. But that notification bell is very important. And the reason why, it's because you'll get updates for every single video that we upload. When we go live, all of those things will come straight to you and you'll get a notification if that bell is on. So without further ado, guys, let's get straight into today's content. Hey guys, welcome to Cricket Fanatics magazine. This is your preview show. I'm your host Khalid, and today we're going to be joined by Aditya, Cricket connoisseur Aaron, and Umpo as well. So we're going to be previewing the India series. First and foremost, to everybody that's joining us from overseas, Christmas Eve. So Merry Christmas to everybody. So for all you guys that are do support Christmas or to celebrate Christmas,
support Christmas. Respect from a New Year's Day fan.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas to all of you, and thanks for tuning in on this occasions, because I mean I don't celebrate Christmas myself, as you guys know, but most people know. But thank you for joining me, and I really appreciate that you're taking your time out to do so. Okay, guys, before we get started, before we get into the debate, And before we get into the discussions, because I love this is the perfect combination right here, guys, because I think we all have opposing views. We don't have all the same views. Even for things that we agree upon, I think our reasoning behind those things are different. So that's what I like about this particular team right now on screen. But I'm just going to give a quick overview and get all the admin stuff out of the way. So, guys, just sit back and relax and wait for me to do this first and foremost. Aaron and the poor. I hope you guys will be entertained by my poor reading and my overall just stats that I put together. Okay, so let's get to it. I'm going to start with the weather report. Now, first and foremost, we might be in for something that we weren't very happy about or we were predicting, and that is that there's going to be rain, according to the weather report. Now, South Africa, the weather changes like some people change the underwear. So ultimately, you don't know what's going to be happening when it comes to South African weather. But so far, Saturday, which is day one, sorry, Sunday, which is day one, it will be 24 degrees 16, and there are showers in Pretoria. On Monday, it looks like lightning and rain. It's very tricky in Pretoria because I've been in Pretoria before where it's blue skies, starts raining, and then there's lightning, and there's still no clouds in the sky. And I don't understand where the rain's coming from. So it's very, very crazy. It looks like we only get 2 days of cricket over here because then Thursday again, rain. Friday, rain. So it's looking like this game, or the first game at least, is going to be interrupted by rain. So, how do we talk about a preview for this? Well, we're just going to have to give it our best shot and just talk about it as if there was a game on. But unfortunately, this is how the weather report looks currently. Then I'm going to move on to the record. Okay, so this is South Africa versus India in South Africa over the years. And you can see that South Africa have a clean record just with that drawn series in 2010. So India is really going to look to do some damage and really try and get that first series win in South Africa. And I think this squad, India's squad, is probably the has the best chance to do so with the situation that we're currently in, the form that we're coming in. Although South Africa is coming with some good form after the West Indies series win, and it still is tricky. And Sri Lanka beating Sri Lanka down, but that Pakistan showed some little bit of weaknesses in South Africa's side over there, and we're going to have a look at what's going to happen from there on out. So when it comes to the batters that have performed in the last year, I've taken the fixtures. I've taken the fixtures from the last Boxing Day Test series till now, um, and this is what the averages look like. So from a batting point of view, Dean Alga is number one in with the average department, and also number one with the runs department. He scored 1 century and 350s in that 6 matches that he's played. In the 4 matches that Temba's played, he averages 50. He has 2 50s to his name. There was 2 40s also involved in that period as well. Very good series against Pakistan. Aidan Macram is coming here with 6 with average of 44, 1 century and 350s. Faf du Plessis is not obviously here, but Rassie van der Dussen is next in line with 42 with 350s. Quinton de Kock, 6 matches. He's actually the worst batter with regards to form currently, 38 average and 100 and 150. And then the rest are just contributors currently. It's this one over here, KP Peterson, that we want to see him get extra opportunity and lift that average and get some good runs against India. It's a very good series for him to prove everybody wrong and to prove that his position in the spot is that number 3 position. Then we can look at the bowlers. The top wicket taker in the last year is not there. Anrich Nokia, 28 wickets in 6 matches, which is phenomenal. So it's unfortunate that he's not available. But then the second on that list is Keshav Maharaj. And then Lungi Ngidi, funny enough, over KG Rabada. Now there is 1 match difference over there. Lungi has played 1 match more. And then Vian Mulder, very, very, very good bowler as well as Lutus Opamla is on this list, which was someone that I thought was a little bit of a snub in this particular series. I thought that he should have maybe gotten a nod over someone like Björn Hendricks, maybe, or even maybe Clinton Steerman in this particular side. But unfortunately, that has not been the case. Then I'm going to go into a quick overview of the stats, not of the stats of Dean Alger's comments, because this will set us up nicely for our actual show. Because there's a lot of things that were said in Dean Alger's press conference that will give us an understanding of how South Africa's mindset is going into this particular series. So these are some of the quotes that I've collected. So Dean Alger said, "I think it's pretty even Stevens. Us playing at home obviously gives us a little bit of an upper hand. You can't not give them the credit, who's talking about India, of course, for what they have done over the last while. So I'm not going to sit here and say they are not the best side in the world, because there's a ranking system for a reason. But the mere fact that we're playing in our backyard gives us still the upper hand going into the series. So let's start with that, guys. Let's talk about that waiver. How is everybody sitting with regards to who is the favorites in this particular series? Let's start with Aditya, then Impo, and then Aaron.
Well, I suppose we've been looking forward to this discussion for a long time now, and it's finally here. So I'm excited. To answer your question, I think India are the favorites, going by how settled the team is and what they've done overseas in the last couple of years, certainly since 2018, and going by current test form. Additionally, I think India has the advantage of scheduling, because they've just come off a two-test match series against New Zealand, so they're in some frame. They're in that test match frame of mind. I think the bowlers have got overs under their belts. The batters have had recent match practice, so I think that's going to be beneficial. Whereas South Africa hasn't played Test cricket since the West Indies series, and Dean Elgar conceded that it's not ideal for them not to have played a lot of competitive cricket in the lead up to this series. So I think on a lot of factors, in India will be favorites in my view. With respect to home advantage, it's there, but I don't think it should be overestimated, because you look at the last 5 or 6 years. England beat South Africa in 2015. Sri Lanka beat South Africa in 2018-19, and England beat South Africa in 2019-2020 as well. So I don't know if it's too much of a home advantage at the moment, but I suppose both teams will have to play excellent cricket to be able to win the title. Well, the series, not the title.
I thought we were going to Empo next.
Yeah,
go on, Empo, you go before me. I'll save mine. I'll hold fire.
So if you're going to talk about 3-1, then there's no point. But India are the favorites, regardless of where they've played. They're the best test team in the world. And when South Africa were the best test team in the world, you expected them to win away from home. We arrived in England in, I don't know, it was 2012, 2011, and we did the business. We went to India, we made sure we didn't lose. And for India's sake, what they need to make sure is they need to make sure that they do not lose this test series. That's number one. And there's that champion mentality about, even though you're away from home and things don't look great, you need to make sure that you take away the loss out of all of this. So it's obviously sometimes, yes, you may want to go for the kill, but other times it's more preferable to go for the draw. Graham was the king at that. Graham was the king at making sure that if South Africa were in a hole, he made sure that guys came out of the draw. So Adelaide, you saw many other times where guys were willing to guts it out to get the draw. From a home advantage, yes. South Africa is not the fortress that it is. The pitches are a lot flatter than everybody's used to. Everyone's talking about Wanderers is Wanderers. That yes, Wanderers is probably the only pitch that will give you pace and bounce consistently over 4 days. However, Centurion, after day 3, we're gonna see a whole lot of Ravi Ashwin bamboozling the South Africans. And for me, that's where I kind of feel like it may fall into the Indian side, as well as Newlands. Newlands is, guys, the highest wicket taker this domestic season at Newlands is not a fast bowler. it's a spinner, and it was Simon Harmer. He took like 6 in an afternoon, and he demolished Province, even though it was like kids. But but then on Province's side, Carl Simmons, the right arm off spinner, took 3 wickets. So it feels more like if there ever was a chance in the world, like an opportunity for India to win it and win this final frontier, because they won everywhere around the world except for here, this is it. But India have always come to South Africa and they've never been able to manage the bounce. Even with Rahul Dravid, even with Sachin Tendulkar, even with Sourav Ganguly, they'll have, like, Sachin will score 100, but everyone else will fall around him. And that's always been with me with India. And it's also one of the reasons why I look at that South African bowling attack and I'm like, they're going to bowl short. They're going to bowl so short. And it's just going to be ridiculous. And if India can handle that, and I don't know if India have been able to play against that type of fast bowling where the lengths are a lot shorter, the ball's coming high. In England, in the World Test Championship and in that series in England, I don't think they got that. And so KG can do it. Anwar's out, but Dwayne can do it. You know, you've got Marco Jansen who can bang the ball in. Lungengiti with his height can bang it from various heights. And so for me, that's the one thing I look at. It's going to go down to how well India can actually put down a score. Because the thing about the South African batting lineup is that, yes, those numbers look great that Khalid put up. But we all know it just does not feel right. That batting lineup does not feel right. You kind of feel like you want to squeeze in a 7th batter, but you don't know how to do it because you don't want to let your strength down. So for me, it's all India's to lose. And it feels like that time when England came to South Africa, when Mark Butcher became coach, and England were the favorites, and South Africa won that first test, and all of a sudden England went through and won it. So from a playing 11 and a coaching perspective, India's got it. I think they even have a slightly better bowling attack than South Africa, and I think there's a point where we all South Africans need to admit that. But outside of that, they've got a better batting lineup. They've got a better bowling attack than South Africa. Even the spinner will be bowling better even in South African conditions. I love Kesh, but Ashwin's going to be insane at Centurion and Newlands. But for me, I think it's India's to lose. If they do lose it, then I'll be very happy because I always love watching Virat Kohli not win things. So I'll be good.
Yeah, to be honest, gents, I don't have much more to add onto that. I do think India are the favourites. It's pretty obvious looking at the rankings, looking at how well balanced they are as a side. It is going to be an interesting series, though. I'm going to be honest, I don't see this being a one-sided series at all. We know they've got previous history. South Africa have made this place an absolute fortress against India in the past, and we'll get onto the specifics and the nitty-gritty when it comes to the bowlers, but looking at Duane Olivier's averages in South Africa, my word. I mean, at Centurion, he averages 8.73, and at the Wanderers, he averages 14. I mean, that is absolutely ludicrous, to say the least. So South Africa are going to come into this series with a very, very good bowling attack indeed. It's unfortunate the loss of Anrich Nortje, 28 wickets, wasn't it? I mean, what an incredible year he's had in 2021, but unfortunately he will be unavailable. But with that being said, Khalid, could you just bring up those batting averages? If you could, bring those up again, because I'd love those to be England's. You know, we've got Joe Root and then everyone else has got like less than 30. You've got 6 batsmen there averaging over 38. And I know that you can say about the calibre of opposition. You can say they haven't played a New Zealand or an England or an India or an Australia to date, but they're going into it with at least some air of confidence. They're not going into this series averaging under 30, like England are in the Ashes, for example, and I guarantee someone will remind me of that as the show goes on. But I think that'll be a key thing in this series, how well South Africa bat, how well India bats. And the key thing for India as well, Aditya, I'd like to know your thoughts in due course on this, is the balance that they strike. Will they go with a 6-5 or will they go with a 7-4? Because that will be the make or break of this series. Will they opt to go for the extra batsman, make it a 7-4, go with 4 seamers, drop Ashwin, who, by the way, averages 46 in South Africa. It's his worst country in terms of test bowling average. He's been incredibly expensive. He's got a 101.9 strike rate in the country. So that's something which could be weighing up in India's mind. Or do you play it safe to go 6-5, the winning combination, Do you bring in a Shreyas Iyer, a Vihari for Ajinkya Rahane, and then, I don't know, rely on the likes of a Shardul Thakur, a Mohammad Siraj, and Umesh Yadav even, to get the job done. So it's going to be an interesting series. I do fancy India's chances, so I will see an India win. I think they're going to win it 2-1. Probably the two that they'll win will be this opening test and the one in Newlands. I think the Wanderers will play into South Africa's hands quite nicely, but honestly, I can't wait for it. Genuinely, this is going to be a pulsating series, two sides which obviously I do love. Okay, they probably are two of my more favourite sides in world cricket, aside from my beloved England. So very, very cliche, but may the best team win, boys, and good luck heading into Boxing Day.
So, from my perspective over here, and this is going to link into the next quotes that I read from Dean Alga, is that South Africa, there's been a large emphasis on a South African point of view when it comes to us playing against spin. Now, there's a lot of work being done, and we saw how we played against them in West Indies and as well as against Pakistan. There's been some good patches throughout. Sri Lanka, when they came here, there's been some good patches against spin here and there. There's been an improvement, definitely, I feel, since the last time when we played India in India and Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka. I think there has been a massive improvement over the last 2 years when it comes to some of our batters when they play against spin. But it's India's fast bowlers that we need to be wary about, I think. And that's what Dean Alga actually alluded to. He said their strength at the moment lies in their bowling. We are extremely aware of that as well. They've had a lot of successes as a bowling unit. They've got a lot of older spearhead bowlers that lead the attack and have a good backup set of bowlers as well. And being in South Africa, I'm pretty sure their bowling attack will exploit the conditions reasonably well. Just knowing that we have our seamers and we've got a little bit of pace and bounce, and the wickets may do a little bit more in South Africa than it does anywhere else around the world. So he is aware of that, Dean Alga. But we need to see, for example, Aidan Macram, when the ball is swinging, he tends to have that loose shot against the swinging delivery, and I hope that he's sorted that out. He has improved a lot against spin bowling. I've been really impressed with regards to that. Keegan Peterson, we don't know what his strengths are really in international cricket. He seems to be a very gritty batter when I watch him in domestic cricket. When he gets his eye in, he can be really attacking and get those runs on the board. But he's more of a guy that takes his time, eats up balls, and eats up deliveries, and then he'll come after you and score big. And I'm looking at Keegan Peterson as the type of guy that needs to bat as deep as possible, no matter what happens around him. Then you've got a like of Rassie van der Dussen, who I feel is more of an adaptable type of guy. But in Test cricket specifically, he's batted very cautiously, I feel. He hasn't really necessarily come out there and tried to score massive quick runs like an A.B. de Villiers would do in Test cricket. You know, not always. A.B. wasn't always as attacking batter in Test. When he needed to sit back a little bit, he did. But ultimately, I feel that Rassie is that person that can go either way. It depends on how he's seeing the ball, etc. But we need to, if we can get on top of India's bowlers, I really do think, especially the seam bowlers, I really do think that we can compete in this particular series. Yes, India is favourites in this particular series. I 100% agree with that, what all of you guys have said. But I do think that if we can get on top, especially Aidan and Dean, dependable on if we bat first, bowl first, obviously that's going to make a difference as well with regards to wear and tear of the pitch, etc. and all of that. But if we can get on top of their fast bowlers and really put pressure on them and actually see them out, tire them out, I think South Africa have a good shot to actually put on a proper competitive match over here. And I think we should just do our best and play our best cricket, and I think that we'll get close. How do we stop the India attack, Paul?
You take time out the game. You block, you let go of good balls, you respect every ball, but most importantly at Centurion, if you want to score big runs, you need to get through that first morning. Every morning. Every morning at Centurion, you need to make sure you see yourself through lunch. It's going to get better to bat through lunch and the rest of the day. The sun's going to bake on it. It's going to be nice. It's going to be beautiful. And what you do is you make them bowl. You bowl them into a hole, or you force them to bowl themselves into a hole. So you can't, like this thing of you saying Rassie, and it's not a bad thing, but Rassie needs to score quick runs. We're not scoring quick runs here. It's
No, I
not a
never say
scoring quick runs
that.
test match. We want guys who are going to give you like 50 strike rates and guys who are just going to just like bat them into the ground. And so that's why I like Keegan Peterson. And I think this series is so important for Temba because those hard runs, those gritty runs, those runs where you it's slow, and it's not beautiful to watch because this is attritional cricket. That's what you want. You want someone like KP to just sit there, understand where his off stump is, and just let it go through. If you do not know where your off stump is at Centurion, you're gonna get caught behind. The slips are going to be there. They're going to be nice. They're going to be waiting. And the other thing for India that they need to understand is that even if it's not working, just always have two slips. Even if it's not working, just always have two slips. You can get something out of this wicket. If you bang it in, it will give you something. But you need to be patient. It's a patience game. Whichever team has more patience over the next 4 or 5 days is the one that's going to win. And it's not going to be pretty. And that's why, like, yes, we see Virat can bat at a high tempo. That could get him in trouble. And so it's about being able, and that's why Dean is so important because Dean takes time out the game. The Titans who play at Centurion this season, the Grant McWen and Neil Brunt, Dean wasn't playing, was injured. Their runs, they scored hundreds, they scored big hundreds, even at Centurion, and this is at Newlands, the same thing. They took time out the game. They understood that you just have to wait for them to give you the bad ball, put it away. Outside of that, just make sure that you know where your off stump is. Anything outside of there, let it go unless if it's too wide. If you're going to be rushing, if you're going to feel like you're under pressure, and this is where it's what made India so great in that fast bowling. They're consistent outside off stump. You're going to feel you want to play. You're going to have to rein yourself in. And yeah, that's the only way you can do it. You need to kind of like let. And the thing about it, the 4-day game, we've never seen results. At Centurion, we only saw one result, and it was on the final day, and that was because the Warriors decided that we had managed to get a lot of wickets in the space of like an hour. Towards the back end of the game, we thought it was going for a draw, and all of a sudden they turned it on. They managed to get the few runs that they needed, and that's it. But outside of that, all the games that played at Centurion have been a draw, which tells you it's slightly slower. You as a batter, you're gonna have to see it out. Yes, the quality of the bowling is not world class, and I think that's where South Africa is gonna have to adapt. Is the quality of the bowling, and also adapt from playing T20 cricket, which we played all year, to playing longer form cricket. So you need to forget about strike rates. You're gonna need to sit in. We're like you want guys like, for instance, Dean and Aidan's thing on Saturday will be sit through to lunch. If you cannot see through to lunch, you're gonna put pressure on the middle order, and that's what India want. They just want 2 wickets up until lunch. They can get 2 wickets or more, they're gonna be in the ascendancy. So for me, that's how you do it. You're gonna need to like see through the first hour, see through it in bits, but most importantly, get through to lunch, because after that it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be easy. It won't be easy, it'll be a little bit easier, and you're gonna get value for your runs.
Yeah. Aditya, these are 2 teams, strong bowling attacks. Even with Nokia out, I still feel confident with Duan Olivier, especially with what he's done in particularly Centurion and at the Wanderers. And I think that from our conversation with him and our discussion with him, in our interviews with him, he spoke about the different bowler that he is compared to when he played against Pakistan. The fact that he's added extra variations to his game in England taught him that he can't just bang it short. He needed to change his game, and then he came back to South Africa and still took wickets, loads of them, when he came now in the 4-day series. So from an India perspective, the difference between South Africa and India, I feel in that batting lineup is one man, and that's Virat Kohli for me. I think you don't know what man's going to turn up. The last time he was here, he scored 150 at Centurion. So I don't know what Virat's going to come to the party here. He doesn't have the captaincy. So what is your thoughts? How do you stop South Africa's lethal attack?
He does have the test captaincy.
Does
here
he?
Rahul has, he is.
Sorry.
He's the captain.
Breaking news.
KR Rahul is the vice captain. But yeah, look, I think the certainties we know in the team will be KR Rahul, Mayank Agarwal, Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant hasn't played Test cricket in South Africa before. KL Rahul is coming off a successful England tour. Mayank Agarwal has just scored 150 and 62 in tough conditions in Mumbai. And Virat Kohli can, although he hasn't been at his imperious best, I think he can seek solace in the fact that he's had two very successful tours of South Africa in 2013 and 2017-18. And I think he knows how to do well here. And I think there will be a little bit less pressure on him, given that he's no longer the white ball captain for India. And he will be determined, because he's not the sort of individual who likes to go long periods without scoring a truckload of runs. So yes, he's definitely going to be an important player. But to me, I think the crucial bit for me is who do India pick at 3 and 5, and whether they go with Ashwin or whether they go with Shardul Thakur. Because Shardul Thakur has this knack of picking the important wickets, and he's very handy with the bat as well. So I think there are 3 positions in the team that will pose selection headaches for Rahul Dravid and Virat Kohli. And it's one of those tricky things about being in a 3-test series, right? Because when you pick a team for the first test, unless conditions dictate otherwise, you need to stick to the core of that team for the other 2 test matches as well. Otherwise, you're not going to get the best out of anyone. So I suppose that's something that they need to sort out. And that's 3 and 5. Because if they play Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane, who haven't been in form in the first test match, they basically have to play them the entire series. So, yeah, I guess it's a difficult decision for the management. And to answer your question, Aaron, I think you asked whether Rahane will play at 5. I think that was your question.
It was whether they'll go with a 6-5 in terms of the balance,
6-5.
or they go 6 batsmen, 5 bowlers, or 7-4.
Yeah, so KL Rahul hinted that they're probably going to go with a 6-5 combination. The question is whether one of those 5 will be Ashwin or Shardul Thakur. I'm pretty sure that the others will be Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, and what?
Who'd you go with, Ishan or Umesh Yadav?
Yeah, so I think Navdeep Saini is also an option because he can bowl at 150 clicks, and he's just had a pretty good tour of South Africa with the India A team.
Isn't Saini just on standby, so he's not in like the squad, or has he been moved back into the squad?
I'm not sure.
I thought he was on standby, personally speaking.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Because he's been training with the team for sure. So I don't know.
Yes. They kept a few bowlers and batters from the SAA tour, but yeah, Saini was one of those stand because I thought he was in the squad and I realized he wasn't.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to see, because that's exactly what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a proper battle of the fast bowlers, though. Like definitely, I feel that. But as the day goes along, it's where the spinners come in, and especially in Centurion, because Centurion's changed a lot. I feel not especially in Centurion, more likely it will be in Newlands that the spinners will really be. Because the Newlands pitch has changed a hell of a lot. Like I've seen it over the last year, the last 2 years even. The way the pitch has changed, it's ridiculous. And obviously, with Evan not being there around anymore and not being the curator and them changing, and then he's the guy that was in his place afterwards leaving as well, they don't have that ordinarily the same groundsman that they had before. So they have one of those CSA curators that are in charge of majority of all the grounds and making sure that everything is okay. He's looking after Newlands at the moment. So let's get into the team selection quickly. I would like to do our team selection. And the flip, this person's back again. I've blocked this user so many times. don't even know who the person is. Anyway, so block that. Anyway, so let's get into it. I think they're ready for the test series, aren't they? Look here, let's get straight into this one. Aaron, I think you're going to have to tell us because myself, Aditya, and Paul have selected exactly the same 11 um, for this particular series. We've seen the fans 11. So let me maybe just start with what the fans 11 was. I don't know if you've seen it on social media. But this was the fans 11. And Paul tried to pay for his craze, but he was outbid. But this is the fans 11 that they put together in our show previously. Now, Dean Alga, Aidan Macram, Ryan Rickleton, Rassi van der Dussen, Carl Verreide, Quintel Kok, Vian Mulder, Keshav Maharaj, Kagiso Rabada, Marco Jansen, and Tuan Olivier. That's the 11 that they picked in the end. With voting and everything, people outvoted each other. So I gave an initial 11 if you don't know what happened. And then the highest bidder in the super chat could remove someone and replace them with one person. So that's what ended up happening, and this is the team that they came up with, and they seem to be pretty happy. Facebook wasn't so happy, and Instagram not, and Twitter not so much either. There was a lot of debate against it. A lot of people saying that this is a team that can only, well, I also said that the team that can only slide in apartheid, and in 1992 maybe that's the only time after post-apartheid 1992. This is probably a team that can only slide in that generation, not in this generation. But yeah, that was the team that they came up with. Now, let me give you our combined 11. So we've gone with Dean Alga, Aidan Macram, Keegan Peterson, Rassi van der Dussen, Temba Bavuma, Quinter de Kok, Vian Mulder, Keshav Maharaj, Kagiso Rabada, Lungin Gidi, and Tuan Olivier. First and foremost, your thoughts on this particular team. Who would you see? Don't you agree with? Who would you rather want to see in? Let's get some of your thoughts.
Well, I'll tell you what, Khalid, that's quite difficult, Just go back to the fans one, just for a second, if you could. Because, personally speaking, I quite like that. I don't think South Africa can go with it, but I do hope that we see Carl Verreide and or Ryan Rickleton in this series, two immensely talented young batters who should be making an appearance for the Proteas in this particular test series. I also like Marco Jansen. I really do. I think he's a fantastic prospect. Brings something a bit different. The left arm angle. He's 6'8", 6'9" in terms of his height as well. Generates that extra bit of pace and bounce. I think he would be almost like an X Factor weapon in Anrich Nortje's absence. So personally speaking, I like that. But now go on to the supposed one from you guys, Khalid, if you can, which is that one. Elgar Markram pick themselves. Keegan Peterson. I completely agree with what Poe said. Completely agree. I think he put that quite brilliantly, actually. In terms of the way that you bat in Centurion in particular, you dig in for the morning session. It's something which Sri Lanka failed to do, and they got punished because they went really hard in the morning session, lost a lot of early wickets. Then they started to generate some more momentum as the day went on. But by that point, it was a little bit too little too late. So I think Keegan Peterson, this is a massive series for him. He's got the technique, he's got the skill, he's got the talent required to do well in this South African 11, but he needs the temperament. Knowing where your off-stump is, not flashing the blade, not giving away your wicket. His wicket is going to be absolutely imperative for the Proteas in this series. I've seen a lot in the comments about, Temba, should he be in the team, should he not? I've just got one stat in Temba's defence, and that is in Centurion, he averages 74.5 in Test cricket. He's got an absolutely outstanding batting record at this venue. Whether or not you think he'll be in there for the rest of the Test series, that's up to personal preference. But I think for Centurion, he has to be in the team purely because of prior success. And he's been decent this year, hasn't he? Averaging over 40, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think you can warrant a dropping from this particular series opener. So I like that. And then what are the bowlers? You put in Lungi, Tuan Olivier, and Rabada. Do you think Maharaj is going to play? And I'll just provide some stats for this because I'm an off spinner myself. I hate saying this. I really do. But in Centurion, off spinners, I'm not a very good one. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you're going to see me appearing for England anytime soon. But in terms of off spinners in Centurion, they average around about 69, which isn't very good at all. I mean, it's an incredible average compared to the seam bowlers who average around the 25s. So that's something which could come into South Africa's thinking. Could they bring an all-seam attack, and maybe just play Aidan Macram if you need that change of an end bowler? Slow things down. You've got Aidan, who can bowl a little bit of off spin. So that'll be another interesting thing for South Africa. What?
But Paul hates that. Paul hates that.
Look, I'm just trying to think outside of the box, okay? And I might say the same
I
as India
actually-
Safari.
I actually do agree with your points to an extent.
Can Aidan bowl on day
I
4
back him.
Yes.
I back him more than
back him.
Paul does.
for
to be
40
honest.
overs?
If he's having to bowl
He
for
doesn't
40
need to bowl
overs,
that-
if he has to bowl
I
for
don't-
40
then there's something
overs,
wrong with
that's
South
up to
Africa.
the seamers. Exactly.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get there in this test match, and that's the problem about the Centurion you speak of, Aaron, and the Centurion that's been happening over the past year.
Yeah,
This Centurion
that's why I will
has
go
gone
with
to
Keshav.
day 4 in the 4-day series. It has gone to Simon. Simon Harmer's had to bowl his team out, and Simon for his team on day 4, and Simon Harmer has struggled. But they needed him because the pitch got slower and the fast pace is really thing. And so you cannot leave out a frontline spinner at Centurion in this game. It's not about giving part-timers. Guys, if Macram and Alga have to bowl, as you say, a large amount of overs, we've already lost this test match. And the problem is that,
definitely.
and that's what came out in Dean's press conference today, we're going to go to day 3 and 4. Day 2 is probably going to be rained out. The way the weather's going, because like literally it is biblical rain that's been falling this past 2 months. I don't know what we've done, but it's just falling like in bucket loads. And yes, you could say that's going to help the fast bowlers, fine. But the problem about Centurion's pitch is that it has slowed down. It does deteriorate after day 3 and 4, and you need to carry cash for that day 4 and 5. If you even get to we might even get to day 5. For day 4 and day 5 to be able to do a job for you on one end. Yes, I understand everyone's going to say it's criminal, it's Centurion. The only place in South Africa, and I will caveat this, that where you could drop cash out is at the Wanderers. But the only problem is that I don't want people to fall into a trap, because at the Wanderers, the Lions themselves, that bowling attack of Olifin, Magala, Sepamla, and Siboto, have managed to dismiss every single opposition they have played in this 4-day series for under 180. So we don't know, with a quality batting lineup like India's has, if we might need a spinner in day 4 and day 5. So you may say, yes, the Wanderers, yes, do this, but the sample size that we've seen over this thing is skewed because Dwan Olivier just bombed out everybody. 28 wickets this series. It's just ridiculous. So I would say, and Dean said it, he does not want to go into a test match without Keshav. He said that he's even gone back to the coach to tell the selectors that they don't want to do that they'd rather have now an all-round at number 7.
Yeah, but Boucher also mentioned that he said he never wants to go without a test without one spinner at least, and he mentioned it in previous press conferences as well when he was asked about that before. Even when Sri Lanka was here, they asked the same questions. We asked the same questions about whether we can play with a full-out seam attack, and he said the same thing. He says he doesn't like to go into test without one spinner at least. So
I respect that. Can I just say, as a spin bowler, I was merely floating the idea out there.
No,
it's a good idea.
It.
It's understanding.
No, exactly. It's just playing some devil's advocate. But again, I mean, if it was up to me,
we needed that for the preview, of course.
But that's the thing. And to a certain extent, the one thing that I'm saying is that you could drop cash because Simon Harmer's been ineffective at Centurion, even though the seamers themselves were even more ineffective. And so you kind of sat there going, okay, I don't want a situation where on day 4 and you're trying to bowl, or day 5 and trying to bowl India out, and you kind of know you need a spinner, and the only person you can go to is Aidan Macram and Dean Alga. That just not make any sense.
It depends. I mean, give Aidan a few. Does Rassi bowl? Does Rassi bowl?
You see, now we're going to ask everybody if they bowl spin.
Keegan Peterson is going to bowl some as well.
Guys,
maybe we see when he take off the gloves also and chuck a few there too.
But Maharaj is not going to bowl in day 1 or day 2. He's going to bowl day 3, 4, and 5. That's where he comes in. That's where Nathan Lyon comes in for Australia. Nathan Lyon spent, I think, 4 months trying to get his 400th wicket because he's been waiting for an opportunity where the Australia playing day 4 and 5, and England offered that to him, and then he came through. So that's how you're going to see Keshav. It's just the one thing is that, okay, fine, maybe why not go for George Linder, because he can bat as well and he averages 15 domestic cricket. That's where I think our conversation needs to go to, because then in that situation you can drop Vian Mulder, which I think we should, and then you then play your 4 quicks, and you can always have that pace barrage ready there, and you know you've got a spinner who can bowl really well when you need him and bowl those high loads if you need him to bowl those high loads, and he can bat as well.
I like that.
One more question, guys, to the panel, to the full panel, because there's going to be, and we know this, that a lot of people, or not a lot of, okay, some people, or a corner of the cricket sphere, particularly on social media as well, on this live chats as well. Guys, I want to see 40 likes on this video. Smash the like button, please, as well, and subscribe and click the notification bell. There's going to be questions about Temba and that 100 that is looming over his head that he needs to, people want him to score more hundreds, etc. I just want to put, because not like I need to justify it, because Boucher has explained it, players have explained it, on why Temba is. I've spoken to Enoch on why they've selected him consistently. He's told me too the same similar things about what he adds to the dressing room and the type of batter he is and what value he adds to that team and the experience he has. But I just want to pop a quick stat over here as well. These are the type of SA run scorers in tests since Bangladesh, September 2017. Now, it is quite small, but I'll read it out to you. So obviously we know Dean Elgar's right on top, as per usual. Top most runs, average of 40. Then we go to Aidan, who's second with the run scorers list with an average of 39. Then Quinton de Kock, 1626, average of 36. Then Faf du Plessis was there too with 26 matches, 35.59. Amla was next with 33.36. And then there's Bavuma, higher than AB, yes, more matches. 991 runs, 33, 750s. I think if he gets that centuries on his name, it'll be a different story. Then you've got Rassie van der Dussen in 10 matches, an average of 38, 6 half centuries. So those are some of the stats that we have available to you guys when it comes to this arena. And I just wanted to put that there for Temba. But let's start with Aditya. Is this a make or break series for Bavuma? Do you see it like that? That if he doesn't score big runs or get 100 in this particular series, obviously the situation will obviously determine that, whether we have matches where it rains out or doesn't rain out, whatever the case may be. If he doesn't get the centuries, or what is enough for Bavuma for him to keep his position in the side? Is his position under threat, or do you see him as the man for that number 5 position? Everybody can weigh in after Aditya.
Look, as I sent you my 11, Temba would feature in that at number 5, but it's no secret that he does need to add to his tally of hundreds. I don't know if I'd call it a make or break series. I think that's difficult to tell at this juncture, but it certainly is important for him to have a very productive series with the bat. The pressure on him has been mounting for a significant period of time, and the only way to silence his critics is to score hundreds. So from that perspective, it's important for him to add to that tally of hundreds. But as I've spoken earlier as well, a lot depends on the context of the match. If the pitches in question are going to be 250 plays 230, then a 70 or an 80 could be a match-winning score as well. So we've got to take that context into consideration, but it's no secret that Temba needs to make a few hundreds to ensure that no one questions his spot in the team again.
So, guys, when Temba was dropped for England and was told to go score runs at domestic level, the next time he played at domestic level, he scored at 200 that brought him back into the side. So, if we needed to end the Temba experiment, it was supposed to be versus England, and we were never supposed to see him again. But he himself came back and scored that double century I think it was in PE, and he brought himself back into the side. Marcus said, well, yeah, I don't know where that doubles injury was. Yeah, it was 180 actually. It wasn't 200. It was
180.
Yeah, and he brought himself back into the side. The thing for me is everyone thinks that no, South Africa's looking for a black batsman. Keegan Peterson's also a player of color, so you can drop Temba and play Keegan Peterson. You'll be fine. There are many other guys in the chain, Zubair Hamza, all those guys. If you're looking for black batsmen, right now what the selection panel is selecting is the best 11. They're not selecting based on transformation. The only reason why Temba's made vice captain is because he's a good leader. The guys around him, his teammates, his players, want him there in the side, and they understand the value of the runs that he scores. When Temba scores runs, and I think it's when it's South Africa in a whole. He has one of the highest partnership averages with Quinton de Kock because that's where they make their money. That's where they are at their best. But when South Africa is batting really well, Temba often goes all out cheaply, largely because of the tempo of the game. You want the tempo to be quick, and you want the runs to move a lot quicker, and that's where he needs to work on his game. But yes, I think this is an important series for him, largely because what Aditya said. It's going to be 250, 280, 300, and the problem is South Africa could find themselves 70 for 3. And if they find themselves 70 for 3, it's going to be up to Temba, Quinny, and Rassie to try and get South Africa to that 300 and beyond. And so from that perspective, Temba's the type of player Mark Boucher likes because he's the type of player Mark Boucher was. Mark Boucher was a gritty player who, whenever South Africa needed runs, he always came through. He never scored runs when South Africa were 400 for 5. He's coming in. He's never going to score 50. He was always going to get out cheaply. And that's why they want him in there. It's more of a mentality and more of a stability thing because guys know that Temba's your man in a crisis. And that's why they want him in there. From a runs perspective, yeah. If you wanted to drop him, England was the chance. They didn't. They brought him back and then they allowed him to score runs. You can't drop Temba now. He averages 50 this year in 2021. He averages 50. Now you're going to say, no, but Temba, overall you're averaging 32. He's going to go back and look at you and be like, in 2021, I averaged 50. So even in this series, it can't be make or break unless if he does so badly that his average drops to below 20 in the calendar year 2021. Because these players, like you and me at a job, are viewed on an annual basis. So every year they sit down with the coach and everyone else and the selectors and they have some sort of a PDP where they discuss what they've done in the year, whether they've done well or they've done badly. So this year, Temba's had a great year in Test cricket and long may it continue. Yes, we want that 100. It will come. I'm sure it will come. But right now, I need a guy who's going to get South Africa from to score about 250 to about 350. If he can do that in this series, that's why it's an important series for him and not make or break. It's important because he could be the key to South Africa winning. Those extra 100 runs with him and Quinny in the middle when Bumrah and everyone's going crazy could be the difference between South Africa winning the series and South Africa losing. And that's why I think they will go with Temba. In the series, you've got Calvarena in the wings, you've got Ryan Rickleton waiting to get an opportunity, you've also got guys at domestic level waiting to get an opportunity. Someone put in Tony Dzozi. That's a great example. So it's not about his color, it's about what he does for the team. There are guys who come into a side who give the team a mental lift because of his leadership. Not saying that it gives him a free pass, but that is the excuse that everyone else in and around the team are giving us to say that this is the reason why Temba's there. And if Temba is there in a crisis, because funny enough, we could be 30 for 3 on Saturday morning. 30 for 3. And I know the guy I want walking out is Temba at 30 for 3 because I know he's going to take time out the game, he's going to block everything, and he's going to try and force the bowlers so he can play at his own pace. And so for me, that's the guy I want. Yes, the other guys are there, Calvarena. I don't want Calvarena coming in at 30 for 3. I know Khalid will tell you that Western Provinces, but this season Western Provinces look bad, even with Calvarena. So right now, the one guy in South African cricket that I want, if everything goes bad, with Quinny is Temba. Because I know if Temba and Quinny can bat together, even if it's for one test, they will help South Africa get out of a hole.
I mean, I don't really have much more to add, to be honest. I did mention the averages earlier, but just to pick up on one post said there are some things which a statistical average doesn't tell you. Okay, and that's intangible features. Leadership, batting when your team needs you the most. I think back to the Australia series in 2018, just for one example of that. There are things a batting average can only tell you so much. And yes, I've seen it in the comments, 40 plus tests with an average of 32. But again, sometimes just looking at a blanket number doesn't tell you the full picture. So in terms of this test, I don't think it's make or break just yet. I mean, if a guy's averaging over 50 in 2021, he is the glue in that middle order for the time being. He may be replaced at some point, but I don't think this is a make or break series. But is he an important member? Absolutely. Of course he is, because is Quinton not missing? Is he missing one or two of these tests? He's missing two.
Could be two, depending on when the baby wants to come.
Yeah.
Well, it's all dependent on the baby.
Yeah.
But it's likely to be two, though. I think that was anyway. Sorry.
Her due date, his wife's due date is likely to make it two, but it could be a little bit longer.
Well, then you have Calvin and Timber batting the interplot.
Yeah, I was about to say that, because if it is two tests, his role arguably becomes even more important because he's going to have inexperienced batsmen beneath him. So Timber, I don't think it's a make or break, but is he a pivotal cog in this South African batting lineup? Yes, for this series. And again, if people are always going to have their opinions, it's fine to, disagree with that. And, there are talented batsmen in South African cricket right now. You're lucky to be able to say that. I wish a certain team that I support could have some players to bring in from the England Lions for the Ashes series. But, I don't think this is make or break at all. And, Khalid, I just have one more question, really, for the show. Are we going to talk about India in terms of their batting? In particular, that number 5 spot? Because I do think that's going to be really interesting. I think the number 5 spot, you've got Ajinkya Rahane, who seems to have the backing of the leadership group, but has not had a good 2021 at all. There's a lot of calls for him to be dropped from the team, people saying he's had far too many chances. And at the same time, waiting in the wings, you've got Shreyas Iyer, who is a phenomenal batsman. Beautiful technique, classy, elegant, resplendent batsman you could watch all day. Imagine him and Virat Kohli out in the middle together in Centurion or Newlands. Oh, that'd be absolutely sublime. You've also got Hanuma Vihari, who had a fantastic India A tour of South Africa. Did all right in county cricket for my county of Warwickshire, was fantastic against Simon Harmer, to be honest, against Essex, as we ended up winning that game by 8 wickets and eventually winning the championship. So that number 5 spot in particular is going to be really, really intriguing to see how India go about that. I think they're going to keep Pujara for the time being because he scored over 600 runs this year. But with Rahane, is his place a little bit more untenable?
Teacher?
Well, a lot of valid questions there, Aaron. I think the question the number 5 spot. I think the question would be applicable to number 3 as well, because Cheteshwar Pujara hasn't been in great form either. But then again, do you really want two of your most experienced batters in the group to be out of the team ahead of an important series against South Africa? Begs the question. And with Ajinkya Rahane, he hasn't had, to be honest, a great 3 or 4 years. But he's one of those players who, when it's required most, he's going to perform. We saw that in the Lord's Test with that 61, the 112 in Melbourne. So he does perform when it matters. But those performances are not consistent. But then again, we have to take into consideration that Ajinkya Rahane is a far better batter overseas than he is in India. And I think India had made that mistake in 2017-18, where they dropped him for the first 2 test matches in favor of Rohit Sharma. But then Rahane came in that 3rd test and contributed a vital 47 runs. And he looked the best batter of the lot. So it's a massive call. It's a tough call because ultimately, assuming Rahane is selected, you're selecting him ahead of a player who scored a century on debut and who averages over 50 in domestic cricket for Mumbai. So that's a very tough call to make, and I honestly don't know who they're going to go with. But then at the same time, I don't know if they're going to go with Cheteshwar Pujara either. Because I think he averages 31 in South Africa, and he hasn't scored 100 since the Australia series in 2018-19. So I think
Yeah.
there are questions there with 3 and 5. Um, and I don't know the
We'll
answers
have to
to
wait and
them.
see.
Very difficult.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think from both sides, it's going to
Yeah.
be a exciting test. So, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thanks a lot, Aditya and Paul and Aaron, for coming on the show. To all of you guys out there, you know what you got to do. Please subscribe to this channel. Please click that notification bell for all future videos as well. And smash that like button, comment, and share this with all your friends and family. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. I know it's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to everybody that is celebrating. I don't celebrate Christmas, but I'm going to go and listen to some pop Christmas jingles, maybe some Ariana Grande, Mariah Carey, um, some pop Christmas jingles, and then that's my thing. Santa baby, and all I want for Christmas is you, and all of those stuff. I'm gonna listen to maybe some Ed Sheeran and Elton John over there as well. Throw in some Justin Bieber.
To each his own, Khalid. To each his own.
I would pay good money to hear you singing Christmas karaoke, Khalid, with your guitar. I'd absolutely love that.
But guys, thanks a lot. A Merry Christmas to all of you as well, and we'll see you guys again very soon. We'll be obviously live after the day was one play, whether there's going to be play or not. So whenever it ends, whenever the announcement comes, we'll go live with the show. If it does rain out, we'll probably just do a Sunday podcast on Sunday evening, just to let you guys know what's going on. If Sunday does rain out, we will be live with a Sunday podcast at the usual time at 8. If not, and the game in and there is some cricket happening, we will do the shows directly after the day's play. I will give Aditya some time to maybe go to the presser, and then afterwards we'll probably eat it straight away with a review show. So thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you guys very very soon. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend, and spoil your family and have a great weekend. Cheers.